Well, it's been a while since I made my last cosplay video, but now after I've made all the other stuff, the next thing I need to sew is the headband that Cora wears. It's sort of a funny looking headband. It's a headband with large ear flaps over top that he wears in his hair along with a pair of goggles. So for this pattern, I'm going to be using the same fabric that I did previously for the apron and the bag, and I just cut off a hunk of it from the sheet that I was using. I also have here white felt. He has as a liner for the headband like white fur almost. But I didn't have any, so I'm going to use the felt, and we will get back to that, and I'll show you how I'll use it. To make this pattern, I made up the pattern myself because I couldn't find anything anywhere that was not how to crochet this. So there's a lot of patterns how to crochet this type of pattern, but not how to sew it. So I have my two corners with the liner. I'm going to be making almost a tube and then ironing it flat. So I measured the width that I wanted the tube to be for the headband, and then the circumference of my head along the hairline. The hairline especially in the front, but not so much in the back. Just kind of where I wanted the headband to sit. I'm going to start by measuring the combined lengths of my tube up the side here. I'm going to just start from here because I don't want this edging in here, considering I'm going to be sewing it all together afterwards. So I'm just going to measure along this just because it's a straighter line than I cut up here previously with something else. I can't even remember what I was making back then. So I have 2.5 inches for the main section, and then 1 3/4 inches for the edges, so I'll just combine these. And now that I've measured that, I'm just going to measure my circumference laid out plus seam allowance, which is 1/2 inch. Test it around your head, and then use your cutting shears and cut it out. I'm also going to just cut off these edges here. If you don't have those edges, unlike me, then you don't have to. Okay, seriously, look at how ugly my cutting is. It's like extremely jagged. I obviously haven't sewn in 3 weeks. Now that I've got the headband, I pinned it in half like so. And then I'm going to sew it along here, but first we need the ear flaps. So I have my measurements for the ear flaps. I'm doing it the same width as the headband would be, and then I kind of just measured randomly down to my upper jaw. So I have my fabric again. I have a end here, so I'm going to just do it here. Measuring again from here, the seam they left there. And it's kind of a curve, but I'm going to measure out a square first so that and then I'll just cut the curve out of the square initially. Now that I have my square, I'm just going to draw in the curve that I like and cut it out as well. Okay, now that I've finished that, I'm just going to take that and use it as a template and put it over the fabric again and trace out a second ear flap. Here comes the part with the felt here. For the felt, I said I wanted a fuzzier quality of felt, so what I did is I have Velcro. I took the side with the hooks, and taking the fuzzier side of the fabric that seems looser, I'm just going to go across, pressing the Velcro onto the fabric and then ripping it off. And this just pulls up the fur and giving it a fuzzier quality. Now that I've finished making my fabric more fuzzy, the whole thing is considerably lumpier now, but whatever. I'm going to take my ear flaps and figure out a way to lay them out that I can fit both on here. I figured it out before and now I forget. Oh, there. Okay, so suppose I'm just going to lay them out and then using them as a template again, cut out around the edges the white fabric. Alrighty, cut out the felt and then making sure that the right side, or like the fuzzier side that we did is up, I'm going to take the right side of this fabric, I don't know which side it is, but I'm just going to choose a random side, and then I'm going to put both right sides together like this. This will create my my ear flap, and then I'll sew it around the edges to make a bag, and then flip it right side out. Then I'll have the right sides of both ear flaps out and a nice seam along the edge. I might iron it if it looks really poofy. There, done. It turned out exactly as I wanted it to, with the fuzzy outside looking really secured. So now we move on to the next step. As for this next part here, there's no real good way to tell you how to do it. As for measuring the ears, the ear flaps, where they go, I kind of just wrapped it around my head, anchored it at the back, and figured out where I wanted them to hang. I was going to say before just to fold it in half and mark the middle and put them there, but obviously this is not the middle, so I don't know. I'm sure everyone's ears are in a different spot, so you can just do what I did if you're making this. Otherwise, to put it on the ears, I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to sew up to the area. I'm going to go like this. I'm going to pull out this pin here where I marked it. I'm just going to insert the ear flap and line it up if I can. Line it up here and then pin it down. Hopefully this works. If it doesn't, then I gotta pull a whole swack of stitches. Like that. And like this. And then do the same thing on the other side. That way when we turn it right side out, I'll kind of give you an idea of what it'll look like on this side. When we turn it right side out, you'll have, obviously, here I'll just do it on the end. You'll have your seam and it'll be pulled in like so. And then your ear here anchored in along with this seam. I believe that's how it should work. So I'm just going to try that, see. I probably should have done this originally, like cut out this part, this beige part with the whole headband, and that probably would have saved me a whole lot of trouble. But I suppose I didn't, so all I can do now is hope for the best and sew it on. Luckily, this actually did work. It fits really nice. I love it. It's perfect. And so now I don't want to sew it together because then I'll have trouble getting it over the ridiculous hair that Coral has. And so I'm going to put on clasps. I don't know. I have these ones. They're very easy. You just sew them on. I don't know if you can see very well. And they just clip together. So I use that for those, and that way it'll have a hidden closure. And but we still have these ends. So what I did on this side, I'm not sure if you can see very well, was basically I took the rough ends and I just folded them in as far as I knew they would go, or however much seam allowance I left for them. And then I just pinned it right across here, like so. And then I will just sew it straight across, keeping these ends in and preventing it from being a bag and getting stuff in it. So I'll sew both of these ends up, and then I will put the clasps on. Okay, in order to show you how to stitch on these clasps, I kind of thought I'd just have to demonstrate it. So you don't need a lot of thread, just a small amount, just enough, because you're just basically almost tacking this down. There's 4 holes in each button piece, so you kind of just sew them in, and then that's it. It's almost like a button, but it's not, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Alright, I'm using black thread to demonstrate, just so that you can see it a bit better against this. I have my hat folded, or headband folded the way I want it, so this is the back side, like so. And then it'll clip on top like this. So I have my 2 pieces. You can see the difference here. One has an indent, and the other has an out dent, if you will. So we're going to take the one with the indent in it, and this one inserts into it to clip together. So we're going to take it and we're going to put it on top of the side that will be overlapped. And I'm just going to put it here and basically tack it down. So you just kind of sew it on as you would a button around, going through each individual hole. Now that I've sewn on the indented section, I'm going to sew on the other part of the clip. So this will be overlapping like so, and clipping on. Until then, we have to figure out where it's going to go. So I'm going to line it up just kind of over top, as close to the edge as I can without the button peeking over, and just leaving a little extra, and then I'm just going to mark it with chalk. And then the other side as well, in the approximate spot. Now that I've done that, I don't know, there's a little chalk mark. I'm just going to put this on facing up this time instead of having the dent in. I'm going to put it up. As you can see, when we clip it on, it'll go like this. So for this piece, again, it has the 4 little holes. And so we'll just do the same thing, putting it on top of the chalk. We're just going to do the same thing, except this time we're going to start on the chalk mark without the button, and I'm just going to shift the fabric a bit so that I separate the 2 layers, and then insert the needle through there. That way we have a clean side on the other side. Now that I've finished the buttons on the ends, I'm going to be adding the rivets that Koro's tassels hang from. He's got these tassels on his ear flaps. He has like a triangular rivet. I didn't have anything identical, so I'm using a rather fanciful bead, I think it is. So it'll work. I wish I had something better, but I don't. So I'm just going to center it here and stitch it on again on the outside of the ear flap, and then making sure that I don't puncture through here and just shift the fabric instead. For this next part here, there's a big sort of large section of fabric before the tassels themselves. So I'm going to be extremely lazy and take some brown felt and just cut it the width that I want and the length. And using that, sew it on. Okay, so I sewed on both of the upper tassels, and for the lower tassels I'm just going to use embroidery thread of the same color and just 2 layers of it. So I don't want it too long, probably about that long. I'm leaving a bit extra, so I'll fold it over 4 times because I need 2 tassels. So there we go, my 2 layers of tassels, and I'll just put these together. Just put them together and proceed to cut a small hole in the bottom of this brown fabric or felt that I used here. I have my hole in my felt, and then I have my thread folded over, so now I just take it and put the thread through the back of this hole and push it through, if I can manage to do that. And once I have it through, I want a certain look like he has it tied a certain way. So I'm just going to pull it through and have a big loop here, and then insert the thread ends like this and pull it down. And I have the right shape. And here I have the finished tassels on Koro's hat. Here is my finished Koro headband. I didn't put it on a wig stand because I don't have one, and I didn't put it on because I haven't gotten my hair cut yet for the outfit. But as you can see, I have the feathers here that I made previously, my clips, and my tassels done. Up here is the front and the back. On the front, Koro also wears a pair of goggles on top of the headband, and I have to make these yet, so I'm going to make them in the next video that I post.